Hey everybody, my name's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking about color theory. This is a really important topic for any artist or graphic designer, anything surrounding art. You need to know color theory. So I'm going to start with hue. This is pretty straightforward and it's pretty easy to understand. Hue is essentially what color the color is. So if I draw a little graph here, I'm going to draw red in the middle, we'll draw orange, yellow, we'll draw purple next to the red, and then pink. You can see this color is basically changing. And yeah, pink should be next to red, but let's ignore that. So essentially hue is just what color it is. So if we have a color red here and we duplicate this and we change it, we've just shifted the hue from a red to an orange. And then we've shifted the hue to the orange to a yellow, and then we've shifted the hue from a yellow to a green, and so on. It's basically just what color you have selected. There's not much more to it. The next is saturation. So this is a word you're probably going to see a lot if you work with Photoshop or any sort of digital program, and you'll probably hear it a lot too in the art world. This is essentially the intensity of the color. This doesn't change how light or dark the color is. It doesn't change what the color is. It just changes how intense that actual color is. So like you can see on my screen, I've got a bunch of dots. The left-hand dot is 100% saturated. The right-hand dot is 0% saturated. So no saturation of a color is just gray. And this applies for any color. So you can see as I shift these colors around here, the left is always saturated, the right is always not saturated. So fully saturated green, slowly getting desaturated into gray. The next is lightness, and this can also be split up into tints and shades. So this is basically how bright or dark a color is. This doesn't affect the hue or the saturation or anything like that. It's basically just adding white or black into the color. So if I sort of draw some little rectangles here, you can see I'm sort of making them lighter and lighter. So they're basically tints, and then I'll make some more and I'll make it darker and darker, and these are some shades. So you can see the darkest color is sort of like a dark brown, but it's still quite saturated and rich in color. And then the light color is basically like a pink, and it still has a lot of color, it's just very light. So you can sort of use a general term to call it lightness or brightness of the color. Or if you just make it darker, it's called a shade. If you make it lighter, it's called a tint. So next up is color groups. This is probably one of the more confusing parts of color theory. I'll try to make it pretty straightforward for you all because it's pretty simple once you understand it. So I'm going to draw a little color wheel here, and I'm basically going to show how different colors relate to each other. Essentially, color groups are basically just color schemes. You could use these color schemes for an artwork or for a painting or anything you're creating. It's just a way that colors can look cool together and sort of interact with each other. So what I've drawn right here is a monochromatic color scheme. It's essentially what we just talked about with tints and shades, except only one color. So if I was to make a painting just out of reds and nothing else, that would be a monochrome color scheme, and it's one type of color scheme that we can use. The next is analogous, or analog for short, I guess you could say, and this is basically what color is next to another color. So I'm going to draw a little color wheel here, and this sort of analog color scheme is basically picking 3 colors on this color wheel, and they all just need to sit next to each other. So if I draw some little lines here, let's say we're going to pick yellow, and then we'll pick orange in the middle, if we spell it right, and then we'll pick red too. And that's an analogous color scheme. We've picked 3 colors that all sit next to each other. And this can apply for any colors. So if I just rotate this over here and spin it around, it can work for any colors. So I could pick a green, a yellow, and an orange. I could pick a blue, a purple, and a red. They just need to sit next to each other in the color wheel. Next is complementary. You'll probably hear this a lot in sort of art and design, and this is basically colors that are opposite each other in the color wheel. You'd probably seen a lot of movie posters love to use the colors orange and blue. They're complementary colors. They work really good together. Same with green and red and yellow and purple. So basically, it doesn't matter what the colors are. They just need to be opposite each other in the color wheel, and they are complementary colors. The next color group we're going to talk about is triadic. So this is essentially making a triangle on the color wheel. So if we pick orange, green, and purple, and make a little triangle, that's a triadic color scheme. They all sit at a triangle's point away from each other. So if you just made a perfect triangle anywhere in the color wheel, as long as they all sit evenly, that's a triadic color scheme. There's a lot more color schemes than these ones I've just listed here, though these are sort of the core fundamental color schemes or color groups. And to be completely honest, you don't always use all those other color groups. It's more or less theory. You do apply it in like when you're actually creating your artwork, though I can say as an artist who works in the field, I don't often actually refer to the color groups. And the next part, and one of the most important parts, is the meaning behind colors. So a lot of people don't actually understand that a lot of colors are picked for very specific reasons, and each color actually has a meaning behind it, and it gives off a certain emotion. Whether you like it or not, each color actually does have emotion and meaning behind it for anybody. It's not subjective. All of these colors do actually give off a bodily sort of emotion and an impact that we don't actually realize. So red is most commonly associated with passion and danger and fire and heat. That's why stop signs are red. Orange is often associated with energy and creativity. Yellow is sort of happiness, joyfulness, energy, being active. You'll see this a lot with advertising, people using these colors as well. Black, sort of obvious. It's really associated with death and also power as well. Green, most commonly associated with nature, as well as healing and medicine. You see a lot of health symbols in games be green for this reason. Blue is also a calming color. You see a lot of hospitals painted blue for this reason. It's also associated with wisdom. Purple is often associated with wealth. Actually, the reason this is because the color purple, the actual dye, was a lot harder to create and make a few hundred years ago. So it was often only sort of worn by kings and queens and royals. So that's why it's sort of associated with that. And white is obviously known as sort of purity and peace. Basically the opposite of black. We also have warm and cool colors. Green is somewhat of a neutral color, but let's just say it's cool. So obviously red, orange, yellow are all somewhat warm colors. Blue, purple, and green are somewhat cool colors. And you can also make any color on the color wheel warm or cool. So I've duplicated the green here, so you can see the dot on the left of the green has a bit more yellow added to it, so it's a bit more warm. And then the dot to the right of the green dot has a bit more blue added to it, so it's a bit more of a turquoisey color, and that's more of a cool color. So if people refer to warm or cool colors, it's essentially how much yellow or how much blue has been added to a color. So yellow being warm, blue being cold. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have an amazing day, everybody. See ya.